Today's podcast episode sounds like a negative and sounds like we're going to focus on negative things. No, we're going to talk about the reality. And yeah, they kind of can feel negative at the time. But I'm going to tell you right now, before we even start digging into these four different things, that the goal is to expose them so that you know that you aren't the only one who has struggled with these different things, these different areas, and just know that, yes, I struggled, but I pushed through. Not because I'm anything better of a homeschool mom than you are. We're all really good homeschool moms. We all really care about our kids and want to do this well. But it's because I just decided I wasn't going to quit. I had started homeschooling and the goal was to see it all the way through. And that's my goal for you as well. Whether this is year 1 of homeschooling, this is year 5, this is year 10, these things can creep into our homeschool and make us want to quit. And we could say, okay, raise my white flag. I'm done. I want to quit, but you don't have to. If you recognize these struggles, it does not mean that the solution is quitting. Honestly, I think the solution is pushing through. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where we talk anything and everything homeschool and all that encompasses the homeschool lifestyle. I'm your host, Leigh Nguyen. I'm a mom who never intended to homeschool, and suddenly I am here, 14 years later, with 2 homeschool graduates and 1 more to go. No matter where you are in your homeschool journey, Little by Little Homeschool seeks to empower and encourage you to carry out this amazing calling of home educating and discipling your children. It's not always easy, but I'm here to walk alongside you because I promise that these years are worth all of your effort. Grab that load of laundry that needs folded, settle in at the kitchen sink to wash those dishes, or tie up those walking sneakers, and let's get into today's topic. Before we dig our teeth into this episode, I do want to just kind of mention one thing. My daughter was listening to one of my episodes, which of course I always kind of cringe when people in real life tell me about something I said in a podcast episode. I don't know. It's just as weird when you have an online persona and then it meets in real life. You're like, oh, don't really actually listen to that. Don't talk to me about it. It just feels weird. But she had said, hey, in this episode, you said this. And it was just like the wrong word. And it was the episode, I'll tell you. It was the episode about raising nominal Christians or how not to. And she said, you said in here nominal homeschooler. I'm like, yeah, I meant Christian. So this is just my disclaimer. I am not perfect. I don't profess to say that I am a gifted speaker. There's just some people who are just so good at talking and pretty much always had the right things to say. That's not me. I'm just a willing mom to do this. That's it. That's why I'm here, is because I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to say the thing. So you might notice in some episodes, because I do listen back to make sure, because the podcast platforms will, when they put it out, they kind of compress the audio. And so I listen through to make sure it's okay. Sometimes it cuts things out and they're just, it's just me. It's me behind this, working on this and in the cracks of my day. And so, yes, I'm going to say some things wrong that are just kind of like silly things. I know that one of the promos for the conference, I literally said the wrong date for the conference. And I was like, do I go back and edit that out? And I was like, you know what? I don't have time. I know that you all are smart and you'll put those things together. So just know that sometimes I might say the wrong word. It's not typically that's something that's too crazy, but yeah, thank you for that grace for that. Now let's get into this. 4 things that made me want to quit homeschooling. If you are new here, just ignore all that I said that before, that little bit of an intro right now. You're like, what is she talking about? Just to let you know, I am in my 15th year of homeschooling. My 2 older children are graduated. They are 23 and just about 21. And so now I am just homeschooling one last homeschooler who is in his final year of homeschooling. So he's 17, which would be, I guess, considered 12th grade. He'll be turning 18, during the middle of the homeschool year. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the end of my journey, and that's the perspective that I'm coming at with this. And there were a lot of years that I did want to quit, and I decided not to. There is an episode I did talk about quitting and like the signs and what I kind of have noticed as like telltale reasons and that kind of stuff when it comes to quitting. I'm going to link that in the show notes. I highly recommend you listen to that episode after listening to this one. Even if you've listened to it before, re-listen, because between this one and that one, you're going to have hopefully a lot of encouragement and a lot of hope. So the first thing that made me want to quit homeschooling. This is like a really big one. And that was a bad attitude from my kids. I know that you never have that in your house. I'm sure it was just my children that gave me a bad attitude. I'm sure your children are always really excited about homeschool every single day, and there's never any complaining or tears or contention or anything. No, that's not how it is in your house, right? Because we are all people. We're sinful people. We are going to choose wrong attitudes and negative emotions, and it's just is a part of life. Now, this one made me want, we as moms can have bad attitudes too. And so I think that all of these things I'm going to mention led me to a bad attitude about it, therefore made me want to quit, but I didn't quit. But this is one of them. It's just bad attitudes from kids. And episode 405, which was just just 2 episodes ago, was talking about just what to do when our kids aren't excited about homeschooling. So I want to encourage you to listen to that one as well. So now you have this one, you got 2 others that you need to listen to. You are good for the next 40 minutes or so, right? Okay, so the bad attitudes from my kids. It happened at all ages and to a degree with each of my children. And I'm sure you can see that as well. You might have one child that is just very sweet and compliant, and it's rare to have a bad attitude. And you might have on the other end of the spectrum, just another child that just gets up in the morning and you're like, did you get up on the wrong side of the bed? And you're like, physically, your bed is up against a wall. You'd have to get out against the wall. Did you do that? Did you run into the wall every single morning? Is that what's going on? And I have had both ends of the spectrum. And the one with the bad attitude, we were talking just recently, and this kiddo was just like, I don't know why I always had a bad attitude. I'm sorry about that. And I was like, you know what? You just needed to grow and to mature. And so when it comes to the bad attitudes of our kids, I'm not saying to ignore it. It is something that needs to be discussed, and it sometimes can be draining. It can be draining when day after day, it might be an entire homeschool year. It might be for a couple of homeschool years. It could be maybe puberty, or it could be just certain ages of the kids, or it just might be that they just have a bent towards having a bad attitude about doing things that they don't want to do. And so this is a heart issue. This is something that we need to come at them with the Word of God. And so there are a lot of great resources out there. I encourage you, obviously, to use the Word of God. Use things like Proverbs. You can talk about those and just kind of how applicable they are, even though Proverbs was written how long ago, how they can apply to life right now. And just, it might take you years of pouring into maybe all of your children or one specific child about the bad attitude. Do not stop. Continue to pour into them and make sure that their bad attitude doesn't give you a bad attitude, because then it's not going to mix very well. The second thing that made me want to quit was curriculum. Now, this was for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it was because the curriculums that I purchased just were so intense and there was just a lot to them, and I was trying to figure out what actually we need to do, or just feeling like I had to do everything that was in the curriculum in order to feel like I accomplished it, or wanting to get my money's worth out of a curriculum that I purchased and being like, we are going to do all the things, kids. But also just the choosing of curriculum. Sometimes it just made me want to quit homeschooling because there were so many options, or I just felt so overwhelmed, or I just felt like I didn't know which one to choose. And therefore, maybe I should just send them to school and quit homeschooling and send them to school because they'll choose a curriculum. I don't have to think anymore about it. On the flip side of that, choosing curriculum can really be fun, but it also can just make you want to quit when you feel like you can't get through the curriculum well, or you can't get through it in the way that you want to get through it. Or maybe the curriculum that makes you want to quit is just like, I don't have the budget in order to purchase the curriculum I think that's going to work really well. I can promise you that there are things out there that are lower cost. There are options out there that are free that are going to be just as good for you. But that curriculum sometimes would make me want to quit because I just would often feel like it was my taskmaster. It was telling me what I needed to do with homeschool, and it was telling me, like, I would look at it and say, we have to do all of these pages this year. And it just felt so overwhelming, and just feeling like the curriculum that I had wasn't going to be good enough for the success that I wanted for my children. The third thing that made me want to quit was comparison. comparison that came to social media for others who are sharing about homeschool or their life on social media, but also just in real life. So let's break those down into the, I feel like there's three different kind of areas in this, even though I mentioned two different things. So social media, the comparison of looking and saying, oh, look at that idyllic day. Now, if you didn't listen to the episode before, we did talk about that in episode 406. So now you have like maybe an hour to listen. Go for a long walk, or maybe just break it up into dishes that you're washing at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You'll get those all caught up. But the comparison of social media and saying, oh, well, she just has everything pulled together. You're only catching a little snippet of what that person is sharing. And not that they're purposely trying to hide things, because I really don't think that it's appropriate for us to display our kids' bad attitudes or their temper tantrums or to divulge their own personal story to strangers on the internet. So therefore, we want to protect our children, and therefore we're going to just show the goodness of it. Use those social media accounts as inspiration, as some ideas, but don't compare. I would spend a lot of time comparing. Now, when I first started homeschooling, social media, it wasn't a thing, but there were blogs. I remember one specific homeschool blog that I had found, and she still is blogging. She's kind of changed her niche a little bit, but her homeschool room was amazing. I actually ran into, I don't even remember who it was that I was talking to, another homeschool mom that started homeschooling when I did, like not a long time ago, but like before the social media and stuff. And she's like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about, because I loved her homeschool room and I was super jealous of it too. And I was like, yeah. And so I would think to myself, well, my homeschool isn't good enough because it doesn't look like her homeschool room. Mine just has a table that someone gave us for free and a bookshelf that someone gave us for free. And I kind of pieced together some things, and these chairs were from a garage sale, and she had this beautiful white room and white desks and all these things. And it's just, I look back now and I'm like, that was silly. That was good for her. And what I had was good for me. So social media, and then in real life. So the comparison can come when we are comparing in real life homeschool mom friends, but also in real life non-homeschool mom friends. So let's talk about that first category. The same thing with the social media. You can look and you could be jealous and desire maybe a way that another homeschool mom, like a friend of yours, is homeschooling, but you're not seeing the nitty gritty in her day in and day out. Even if she's honest and does tell you about the struggles and everything, again, take it as inspiration. Maybe she really enjoys sitting outside on a blanket with some snacks with their kids and reading books, and you're like, I would love to do that. Well, use that as inspiration to start doing that. It might not be something that your kids are used to, so just know that they may not respond like your friends' children do immediately. They know what's expected of them and they look forward to this. This is enjoyable to them. It might not be that for your kids yet, but just start it and just do it little by little. They will then hopefully adjust to it and be like, oh, this is actually a good thing. Now, what about the comparison when it comes to our in real life non-homeschool mom friends? So you have friends from church or the neighborhood or just around that don't homeschool, and we can very easily compare our lives, and just the fact that you have so much in a day. There's so much that just is draining you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in the day because your kids are with you all the time. And you hear from people like me who are saying it is a blessing, and some days you say to yourself, I don't know that this is a blessing. I promise you'll look back and you'll see the blessing that it is. So, I mean, that could be a whole nother episode of what to do in those times. And I probably have some of those. So scroll back and take a look at those. But you could then compare, and I did this often, to my friends whose kids were in school. And I was like, you mean you just have to do your housework and stuff and your chores and everything? And here I am trying to fit all of that in and more in a day. And so that often made me want to quit. The fourth thing, the very last thing that made me want to quit homeschooling was doubting my ability to do it. And that's very easy to do when your children are young because you haven't seen the success yet in your own family. You could say yes in that family, they graduated their kids, they're all doing really well, but you're like, I'm not exactly that family, so I don't know. Do I have this ability to do this? And I think that any mom who has a desire to homeschool and a desire to be intentional about how she does it and what she does will achieve success in her homeschooling with her children. You have the ability to do it. Don't think you might have, say you have 5, 8, and 12-year-olds. Don't think about how you're going to homeschool a 15, 16, 17-year-old because you're not there. Concentrate right now and grow in your abilities to homeschool well. Continue to listen to this podcast and other homeschool podcasts. Read books and maybe follow some on social media and YouTube that are homeschooling and to give you ideas. For me, the biggest thing I needed to do was I needed to surrender my homeschool, but my desire and my goals, and surrender it to God and let Him work in me and adjust me and my attitude and the way that I perceived homeschool and the processes and how I was going to actually do this. But then also allow Him to work through me in the lives of my children and work through me in our family culture and setting up a home and keeping up with all the homemaking and providing the meals and providing an atmosphere that's going to help to edify their faith, to help them to grow in their faith, and to prepare them and launch them out into the world. So those 4 things are the things that made me want to quit homeschooling multiple times, many, many times. You can ask my husband. He's got some stories about me just being in the depths of despair, and these things were often what was the top things that were playing into it. My hope that I want to give you is that if you're feeling these things, it does not mean that you have to quit homeschooling. It doesn't mean that you need to no longer do it. It probably means more so. You need to spend some time on your knees praying to God. You need to spend some time in the Word, and you need to then reflect and think, like, how can I adjust? How can I get through this? Maybe we need to do some field trips. Maybe we need to take a week off from homeschool. Maybe we need to change our curriculum. There's a lot of maybes, and only you can figure that out. Only you do know how to do that. Now, your homeschool blueprint can walk you through that if you're not familiar with that. That is my program that helps you either to set up or refine your homeschool if you are homeschooling or have been homeschooling for a while. So that can kind of help you. You can get more information of that, littlebylittleHomeschool.com/blueprint, but the link is in the show notes for you too. But just knowing that you do have the ability to do this. And if you enjoy this podcast, you enjoy getting encouragement, and you would like to have me pop into your inbox, on Tuesdays, you can get an email from me where I share a bit more about my week and just some thoughts. And I give you a couple of tips. Sometimes they're like kind of meaty sort of tips. They're not just like fluffy tips. They're just kind of an overall picture of motherhood and Christian motherhood. And I'm actually having a lot of fun putting those together for you. So if you would like to be on that list, check out the link in the show notes. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and go check out also those other episodes that'll be in the show notes for you to listen to follow up and to round out this episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If it was just what you needed to hear, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend? And if you would like to connect more, social media links and more are in the show notes just for you. I promise to see you back here real soon.